Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sikes. My name is Sikes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out last week's episode. If you're one of the people who listened to that conversation, I hope you enjoyed it and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. So what's going on? It's a new month, April 1st, April Fool's Day. I hope you're all avoiding the shenanigans and I hope you're doing well. Just want to thank you all for being here. If you have a moment to rate and review the show or subscribe or like or do whatever you can on whatever platform you choose, that would be great. You know, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and just interact with us on there. Leave some comments on some things, suggestions for future guests. Let us know what you think of the episodes. The more interaction that we get from people like you makes our show get bigger. And I'm trying to take over the fucking world, okay? Yeah, motherfucker. And got some shows coming up. I want to take a quick second. I take a lot of quick seconds and quick moments, I'm realizing. Anyways, regardless, I want to thank everyone who came out to the JJ James Johns Memorial Show at Cativo this weekend. It was a really awesome turnout. I saw a lot of people who I haven't seen in a very long time, and it was really cool to see, everybody brought together. It was unfortunately under like the most, very terrible circumstances, but with all of that being said, it was still great to catch up with everyone. And I think JJ would have really had a good fucking time at that event. So I was happy that we got to do that. And shout outs to Nick Prezioso for putting that together. We got some upcoming shows. Gray Walker's going to be in Buffalo, New York this weekend at Casa di Francesca's for Pasta Mania. I know that sounds completely ridiculous, but if you're in the Buffalo area, feel free to check us out. That's this weekend, April 6th. April 11th, Sikes and the New Violence at Full Pint Wildside. April 12th, Podcast Night at the Tolma 2. That is a live podcast event where Start the Beat with Sikes will be doing a live taping alongside Neon Brainiacs and Thrifty Podcast. So if you're interested in that, reach out for details. April 13th, Gray Walker's going to be back in Youngstown, Ohio at Cedars. April 19th is the next MySpace night at Brillo Box. April 25th, and this is the first time I'm officially announcing this, it is the Start the Beat 5th year anniversary spectacular at Brillo Box. And that's going to be alongside my friends. Well, I guess saying alongside isn't the right way to put it, but I'm doing like a live talk show panel type thing, and my guests are going to be Icky Vicky, Ashley Courts of Black Forge Coffee House, Clara Kent, Connor Murray of Crafted Sounds, and Bambi, who I should mention is going to be the guest host for MySpace Night on April 19th. So yeah, April 25th, Start the Beat 5th year anniversary at Brillo Box. 2 more events I want to shout out real quick. April 26th, the day after that, I will be DJing at the Smiling Moose for the live band Emo Night Karaoke. If you are into that sort of thing, come on down. The band will be upstairs and I'll be on the first floor playing the hits. And then the day after that, Sikes and the New Violence at Cativo. April is a very busy month for me. So yeah, man, I didn't have time this week to do any listener questions, so we're going to skip those. But you got to hear this. The new Rammstein. Have you heard the fucking new Rammstein song? Chances are, if you're not a fan of Rammstein, you probably couldn't give a shit less. But for those of us who are fans, this is the first recorded material they've put out in almost a decade. And it's awesome. It sounds great. The video is off the rails. And if you are a fan of Rammstein and this flew under your radar or you just haven't taken the time to listen to it yet, you got to hear this fucking Rammstein track. Go check it out. And you got to eat this. This weekend on Friday, me and Stacy went to the Butterwood Bake Consortium. And that is a bakery cafe over in the Lawrenceville area on Butler Street, pretty down kind of far, like a little bit past B52, if you know where that's at. And this place is fucking adorable. Me and Stacy went down around 10:30 at night. We got some cake and coffee. I had a chocolate cake with pistachio buttercream, and Stacy had a what was it? An Earl Grey tea cake with strawberry buttercream, and we had some coffees, and everything was great. The place is really nice. Everybody that was working was really friendly, and you got to eat it. If you're into sweets and stuff like that, you're looking for like a sober alternative to a good night out, or just want to get some good snacks, go check out the Butterwood Bake Consortium. I had a blast, and I'll definitely be going back. Then you got to see this Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix. Has anybody been watching this? Me and Stacy just started checking this out last night, and I am fucking obsessed with this show. It's hysterical. I didn't think that there could be a like fresh, humorous take again on the zombie genre, but they've done it, and they've done it with fucking Drew Barrymore. Give me a break. It is fucking awesome so far. I've only watched the first 3 episodes, but I have a feeling I'm really gonna like it, and if any of that sounds good to you, you gotta see it. All right, so let's get into this week's episode. This week on the show, Heroineburgh is back, this time with Bridget and Alicia, who are here to promote episode 14 and the start of season 2, which is available now on their website, heroineburgh.com. And before we get into the episode, I'm actually going to play you the trailer for episode 14 right here, right now. For those of you who are not watching the video of this on YouTube or Facebook, you're only going to get a theme song. You're not going to get to see the visuals, but I highly recommend, if you can, to jump on YouTube or Facebook and watch this episode, because aside from the trailer that I'm about to play you, there are some pretty cool little other clips from the show that are woven in through our conversation, and some other things that I don't think you're going to want to miss out on. But if you're only able to listen to the audio, that's okay. We're happy that you're here. So I'm going to play this trailer, and then we're get into my conversation with Bridget and Alicia of Heroineburgh.
She's living in Heroineburgh. Never mind what you heard. Superheroine is the word. She's living fantastic dreams. She's shooting out laser beams, taking over computer screens. She puts her costume on, and she's feeling super strong. When deadly threats attack, she'll be ready to strike back. She's living in Heroineburgh.
Sit back, relax, and let's start the motherfucking beat! Love and the pursuit of happiness and being a badass superhero, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay. Do we need to be concerned about our language?
Fuck yes. You better not fucking swear, or else I will be really fucking angry.
I will be really fucking careful then.
Yes.
I will watch my fucking mouth.
Son of a bitch.
So, Heroineburgh is back in the building with 2 new homies. Hello, friends.
How you doing?
We just met. I'm sitting here with Lita and Bridget, and I will get some background on your superhero names and all of that stuff. But before we get into all of that, let's talk a little bit about Heroineburgh as a whole, for those that maybe missed the first episode or just aren't familiar with the project. Which one of you two wants to take the reins on that?
Well, the whole universe is something that's actually really magnificent and really cool to be a part of. I grew up as a fan of comic books to begin with, so to be brought in on something like this, where it's a bunch of, this project is a bunch of musicians and artists who are in Pittsburgh who get to be these characters that we're all these strong female characters. Then we get our representation, we get out there, we get to be bad, we get to be good, we get to be multifaceted and have all these superpowers, and we're all over Pittsburgh, which is very well represented in the comics. and or in the episodes.
Comics to come.
Yes, comics are to come, which is very exciting stuff. I mean, we're all like I said, we're very excited to be a part of this. The storyline and how everybody comes into being these powerful characters. It's deep. It's cool.
Hell yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your characters specifically. Bridget, let's start with you.
Okay. Well, my character is Arctica. Her true identity is Greta Bjorn's daughter. She's from I want to say Iceland. Of course she's from Iceland. Why wouldn't she be? And she's also a cryogenic physicist.
Ooh.
And her and her partner Spectrina are working on a experiment, and that actually releases the villainess dysphoria, which I think you interviewed her. So that's how that villain gets introduced, and then the experiment goes wrong, and then at first she's like, oh god, I'm cold all the time, and then she's like, oh no wait, I'm gonna be like Elsa, and it's not gonna bother me anyway, so let it all go.
What about you, Lita? Let's talk about your character.
Well, I was once the once mild-mannered little Cynthia, and she's a character who's very close to my heart. I identify very well with this. I used to be in banking, and also I'm a showgirl. So there's always this like duality of like that I get to be a part of. So it played in so nicely whenever the director approached me with this character who's like this accountant by day, and then she comes across her like little chunk of meteorite. And goes to sleep and wakes up with these crazy powers where she can see into the future just a little bit. And she's really strong, and she finally gets a taste of what power is, and she turns to the dark side with it, of course. And then she becomes like a cat thief, which is fantastic because every girl grows up wanting to be Catwoman. So
you had a really hard time adapting to this character.
It was really a struggle connecting with the material. I just seriously, what is my motivation? I don't understand.
So I'm going to throw something out there. We just met, but I have a feeling that out of all of the heroines who have been in Heroineburgh so far, there's a good chance that maybe you're the one person that had to dress down for your costume. I'm just assuming. I'm just going to put it out there.
My cover is blown.
But that's great, though.
No,
that's
my
awesome.
secret identity.
My secret identity is a full-blown ham.
So, no, you mentioned outside of Heroineburgh that you do some things outside of banking, of course. You mentioned that you are a showgirl, and I know that you are affiliated with friends of the show, Venus and Furs.
Yes. Venus and Furs, we actually just had a really awesome show a couple weeks ago. We were with Lords of Acid. Their Pretty in Kink tour just came through town. That was a blast to be a part of. Can I just harp on that for
sure.
1 second? Hi, everybody. I want you all to know. We took over the Rex with Lords of Acid and Orgy, and it's just so cool whenever shows like that come through. Pittsburgh needs to know about what does come through here. The Genitorturers, that's a band that people need to be paying attention to. They're multifaceted. Not only are they hard running, but female front. Just saying. She's sick. She's so serious about everything. She's such a freaking powerhouse up there. And then I'm just saying, they have a stilt walker. You got this chick who comes up there with
cool.
Dude, it was so cool. And I walk on stilts. I just started that. So I'm all what? Whenever my mind's blown when suddenly this chick with tape on her tits gets up there, and she's got a baby with an umbilical cord in one hand, and she's savage on this stage, just ripping it apart. It's just so freaking cool. It's cool to see that stuff. It's cool to be a part of it, and our music's good.
Well, that's what's really cool about something like Heroineburgh, is that it is an unsuspecting gateway to the world of Pittsburgh music and just Pittsburgh creatives
Seriously,
in general.
That's such a great point. That is one thing that's really cool about Pittsburgh, because everything is here that you'll find in any other city, but Pittsburgh's nice and densely packed. So it's really fun to make the connections that you can make, and how the community does support one another, and how we can get these projects that come together and everything, and these platforms that then form, so we can continue to I'm working on this, and like we can bring each other in, and soundtracks get laid down and things like that happen. It's real cool.
Totally.
It's so organic. It's real fun.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bridget, what is your dealio outside of the realm of Heroineburgh? I know we are connected on social medias, so I am aware of what some of the things you do. I have a loose understanding of it, but tell me some more.
Well, I do a lot of acting. I'm a huge theater person, and I'm also in a improv troupe called the Cellar Dwellers. We do a weekly improv show, and it is called Effin' Improv or Friday Night Improv. And our tagline is, "We do it every Friday." Every Friday. So we said at the beginning of every show.
Okay.
And yeah, we really do a show every Friday. And actually, I found out recently that I guess I have been involved with that troupe for 4 years.
Nice.
Now,
Congrats.
So thank you.
Awesome.
Prior to that, were you, like, when you came into that, were you new to this whole world, or were you doing other stuff? I mean, you mentioned theater and things like that, but that's a little bit different than improv.
Well, I was that incredibly shy child who, but once you put her on the stage, she was just like, look at me. So I did theater growing up in school, like in high school and stuff. And I did like maybe a thing or two in college, and then after college, really didn't do anything for a while because I didn't know that there was anything around. And then I found one of
that goes back to the point that we had made just about people not knowing about this insane amount of stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I had no idea. And then I finally was made aware of one of my local community theater groups. So then I started doing stuff with them. And then around the same time, I also got into improv because I had gone to the Cellar Dweller shows since I was like 18.
Oh, cool.
And we always do audience participation games. So I was always one of the people that would like raise my hand all the time. And so that's how they noticed me. And eventually, some years later, they had lost some people in the troupe, and they said, well, we really like you. You always volunteer. Do you want to try? And I was like, yes, I do. I really, really do. And I've also done some stuff around Pittsburgh, and do stuff like the 40-hour film project too. So
cool. So the transformation into this, superhero, superheroine, whatever you want to call it, is maybe a little bit more dramatic for you than Lita here.
I mean, I don't know if it wasn't dramatic for me.
We'll say visually, anyways.
Well, I mean, I guess it kind of reminds me a little bit of it because, like I said, I was incredibly shy, but I was always into like super nerdy things. I loved watching anime. Like my brother and I would like watch the Power Rangers movie all the time growing up. And then of course, as the battle seasons go, we try to like, play fight each other and stuff.
Cool.
So when I found out about this opportunity, I was just like, well, maybe the director won't pick me, but I'll send it in. Why not? And then got back to me right away. And I was like, yes, I really want to do this, please.
Cool. So yeah, for anybody that isn't aware or is just being made aware now of Heroineburgh, season 1 was completed at the end of 2018. And to give you an idea of how big this is, it is 13 episodes. The first season was 13 episodes. And I remember season 1 being a lot of the origins of all of the superheroines in the story, which there's like 20 of them, and there's almost as many villains. There's a whole lot of people that are involved in this project. It's very, very big. Almost an overwhelming thing to even manage. So it's really cool to see that it's picking up and going. So with season 2, this is something that both of you are getting introduced in season 2, right?
Well, my character was introduced in episode 6.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh no, that's okay. And then I actually took over the character for episode 13. So I'm a little bit like newer into Heroineburgh, but loving it even more. So
cool. So what can you tell me about the beginning here of season 2, episode 14? What can you tell me about? Like, give me some little teasers about what people can expect whenever this is going to drop.
Thrills and chills. Absolutely. Sorry. It's another fun adventure with capers and we meet Sintilla, my character.
Mhm.
My story is shown for how I come into being, and how I just have to be bad. How I just have to be bad, and Arctica gives me the business.
Yeah, it was fun because I get to demonstrate my superpowers in this episode. Getting to watch episode 13, and I saw how, because I got to do that as well. I was like, oh my god, the effects look good, and I can't wait to see it. And we actually added some practical effects for this time around when I used my superpowers. So.
Oh, cool! Let's get into that. What was
Mhm.
what were the practical effects like?
So like we kind of have like a little bit of a fight, and I like kind of
I'm a
shoot
big fan of fight
some
scenes.
like an icy blast out at her, and so to really make it look like her hand is freezing up, the director sprayed some stuff on her gloves so that it sort of crystallizes a little bit to make it look like, oh no, my hand is freezing. So that was cool.
That's fun. I really like the idea of still doing practical things because it's becoming a thing of the past. But
Right.
especially when you're from the creative process, when you're like there doing it, that's always the funnest thing. It's just finding the little ways to make everything work.
Sure,
Oh.
absolutely. And like all the little like found objects that like end up getting used and things like that. Because that was one thing that was, as we watch movies. Oops, sorry. Sorry, microphone.
No,
Sorry.
no worries.
But speaking towards like all the jobs that it creates whenever you do things practically, and the artwork that gets lost. I mean, like, you used to watch like a Tim Burton movie and like all the world that would get built in like Batman, for example. Like whenever you see the Batwing go into Gotham and everything, and into the tower, like all those little pieces and everything, and now it's like all CGI, and like the art's still really pretty, but there weren't hands carving it. There wasn't like that actual grit going
Yeah.
into it, which is like fun to play off of. And it's fun in that moment then too, like to get that stuff sprayed on my glove and like get to respond to that, as opposed to like always having to make everything up of like what this ray would look like, like all that concept.
But that's probably fun too whenever you finally get to see it with the effects.
Sure, absolutely.
So like I am in episode 14. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but I'm in it. That's fine. That's another reason for everybody out there to watch it.
Tune in.
I have a small cameo appearance, and actually I got to watch it last night, and it was fun because whenever we were doing it, I had no idea what it was going to look like. So getting to see it, I was like, oh, this is hysterical. It was a blast getting to see it. But it would also be cool too if there was somebody on set that could actually, just do that in real life.
Mhm.
Lasers and
freaking
whatever.
lasers, man.
yeah. Now, with the evolution of your character, Bridget, how much can you tell me in terms of the arc of season 2?
Well, I guess so. When Arctica is introduced, before she even becomes a cold superhero, she's kind of a cold person, not necessarily like a mean person, just very cold, like very analytical, by the book,
Sure.
Really cares about her research and stuff. There is an established her partner in the lab, Spectrina. She kind of has a crush on Arctica, and Arctica is just kind of like, oh, okay, that's a thing. And just doesn't really pay attention to that. And then after the experiment goes awry and she gets her superpowers, she's slowly starting to kind of be like, I've just been so involved in the lab all this time, like I kind of forgot, like, I can have some fun too. Like, part of the reason she wears the costume is like, oh, here's that old cosplay costume I used to wear, like here, like dipping into some more things she used to do, and also starting to warm up in terms of her love life. So that is something that happens in episode 14.
Lita,
Takes a
what about
superhuman
what
to be
about
real
you?
human. Sorry, what?
What about you?
What about me? What about me? Hey, well, what? My character, she's just, she's unleashed, is what she is. So, like, her whole experience is going to be testing her boundaries, and but that's always fun to explore. Actually, it's funny because you keep calling me Lita, and that's so. little bit of like, just sorry, I'm gonna talk about Mimi for a minute.
That's okay.
But Lita is a character that I used to be, because with all of my facets, I've experimented with a bunch of different ways of not wanting to be considered an artist, but like still being in art. And for a while, I was a burlesque entertainer, and I still do burlesque. But Lita DeVargas was a character that I built, and she ran out of things to say. And so I got, sometimes you just get tired of a particular mask. And so I tell a lot of people, like, for people who have known me for years, Lita DeVargas now lives on like a really nice farm up north with a bunch of dogs and cats. And like there's a really beautiful aquarium full of carnival goldfish named Sparky.
That sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, she's very much at peace. So you can call me Alicia. And every now and again, some people will see me show up on stage somewhere doing some things that I do under the name of Sunday Service. But most of the times people are going to find me like with Venus and Furs as Alicia anymore. I'm just Alicia. And I sing with Devin Moses in the Down Above, and I'm Alicia there too. But whenever I do my burlesque and stuff like that, that's Sunday Service. And that's a whole other personality. Because as I got a lot of that, I guess.
Seems like a lot to keep track of.
It keeps it entertaining,
But it is very relatable, and as someone who has multiple projects and goes under, like, people call me different things, and I in a way live multiple lives as one person.
Right. I think you, especially if you're going to hustle and you got to do this thing, like you are what you are. Like if you're a musician or you're a performer, a performance artist, whatever it is that you are, you have to figure out how you're going to get that job done, and there's a huge learning curve on that, and we have so many fascinating archetypes and examples to follow. And try and learn from, like, you think about like David Bowie and how many different characters he played while he was David Bowie the entire time, and Iggy Pop is Jim, but he's Iggy Pop, and so like all that differential minutia, inertia, all of the velocity and everything, you got to play around, you got to figure yourself out, right?
Yeah, and that's what's kind of cool going back to Heroineburgh, is that there's so many different characters that are all just different facets of the wide array of the human personality.
Exactly. And then we get to wrestle with that human condition in these fantastic costumes and these fantastic plot lines, and get campy with it and really have fun with it. And, that's the thing that's also really so cool about something like Heroineburgh. Like all the themes are actually very human. Like, it takes your character like coming out of humanity, and then suddenly she's like, I really, starting to look at, the human qualities that she's missing out on in her life. Like that's cool.
Yeah, she's starting to thaw out, as it were. And I feel so corny, but now every episode that I film, that like at least while the camera's off, I've made it a point to say at least once, time to chill out, at least once. I gotta do it at least once. I know that movie's not great, but I just can't help myself.
And it's in the Batman universe. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
And it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, come on.
I know. It's such a great hammy performance.
Now with you, Bridget, and your background in theater, I'm curious how that's helped you in this process. Whereas with Alicia,
appreciate it.
I don't know what your background is in terms of like acting. I mean, because you have stage performance, but with acting and remembering lines and dialogue, was that a challenge for you at all? Versus, I imagine maybe it was something that was easier for you to pick up on, Bridget, or I could be wrong.
It's no, I don't really have that much problem in memorizing lines and stuff. I mean, of course, I have the occasional, like, there's the easiest line in the world to say, and you find like 20 million different ways to like screw it up. Like, I'm going inside the door. I'm going to
or just being in front of a camera, how that can be it can really throw things off, even if you feel like you're very well rehearsed and you got everything down. Once you're in the moment and it's time to go, it can really just mess you up if you're not used to it.
Yeah, and angles, like that's one thing that I've struggled with, because I have a theater background. I used to do theater when I was in college all the time and loved it. Shakespeare was kind of saved my life, which I think many people can probably say that. But in theater, in college, and then have been blessed in my past few years. The world of burlesque is really fun. And there's a performer in Pittsburgh whose name is, he was once upon a time Smokin' McQueen. Now he just goes by Alistair McQueen, because whenever God gives you a good name like Alistair McQueen, you may as well just go ahead and roll with that.
Oh, hell
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's famous already. So, and you can find him at the Blue Moon quite often, doing a myriad of characters. He's absolutely fantastic. And so he went to Pittsburgh Filmmakers for a while. Whenever he had some projects, every now and again, he'd bring me in on those, which are in circulation on YouTube.
Cool.
You can find Charlie's Angels. I'm sorry, not Father Charlie's Angels. And we're a bunch of evangelical exorcists. It's a fantastic project. And that was a fantastic learning experience because, I always love watching, on DVDs and everything, like all the, the bonus footage and everything, like what it actually goes into in terms of making a film. And like, you never really think about how many times you might have to give the same line over and over and over again.
Cool.
For that one good take, like over and over and over.
Yeah.
And like watching the light and everything, like you only have so many chances and everything. So like that versus stage where like, you have all those rehearsals together and like you build like a cohesive like organism where like it just comes to life every night that you're performing on stage and like things happen and everything, but like you still like you all have each other versus whenever you're doing something with film and it's, everything's so isolated and it's out of sync, all these different parts and everything, the way it's segmented and broken up. That is a really interesting process. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think the thing with film is it's so much more precise
Mm-hmm.
than theater in a way. It kind of just
That's a good
because
way
of
of putting
how you have to create it has to be.
Yeah.
Which and I do like doing film. Like I've done some stuff here and there with film, like not as much as theater, but it's something that I'm working on trying to like get better at and stuff. But what I like particularly about Heroineburgh is that I love doing theater because like that's where like I feel that I really come to life and I really express myself, and which is also something that's great about improv is because you can just really go crazy and just do all sorts of weird stuff. But with Heroineburgh, they always say, on stage you can just be like, be big. But with film, it's like, let's shrink it down a little bit because, it's focused in on you. But with Heroineburgh, it's a live action comic book. So you can still be big, like still not as big as you'd be on stage, but you could still be big. And that's how I like playing my characters. I even kind of change how I deliver my dialogue a little bit. Like I have a little bit more of a commanding presence to my voice, but I like doing that because I think it makes me sound like a 1950s superhero. And I don't do it quite as exaggerated as this, but I'm doing it right now because it's fun.
It's like that power stance is implied in the voice.
Yes. Oh, I love doing the power stances in this show.
Great.
Do you... Is there something too, like maybe whenever you're wearing the costume that it just like that helps inspire that voice, or just like it really
yes.
just changes everything?
Oh, yeah, you
Yes.
get into character. Like the wigs come on, and like the makeup goes on, like the belt and everything, and like the boots come on. Like my costume, I get to wear shiny black vinyl. So I'm just like,
Yeah, your
I'm living my best.
awesome.
Right, thank you. So, like I'm living my best life. I'm feeling very Julie Newmar, very Eartha Kitt. I'm loving this. Like, yeah, like, and you just go right on into, you sink into your character. Like your voice changes. Like she just like whenever I'm Sintilla, like it's just this fluidness in the walk and everything. Like everything's very serpentine and snaky and cat-like, and it's and then that comes into like that campiness that comes out in the voice then too. And it becomes like really fun to get all vampy and like, oh, everything's a problem, but it's so amazing,
I loved how you delivered your lines in the episode because you were just like very like this one guy comes over at one point and bothers her, and she I just love how you deliver it. You were just like, shut up, you idiot. Like I was like, oh my God, I love this right now.
A little bit of Glenn Close came out of that. Appreciate you. And you were fun to play with. You were both so fun to play with that day.
Thank you.
Absolutely, because you're serving it the entire time, like the authority in the eyes and everything, and the power stance, like it was all there. It's like we're really doing this. This is like Adam West Batman episodes, like right now. Give me the bam and the splat and all that, like
Sounds.
loud noises. But yeah,
It's so fun because, with all of the people that have been involved in this project so far, I'm sure not everybody has just the background in interest in pop culture that you two have. So it's a lot of fun to just watch you two just back and forth talk about stuff, just because like I feel like you get it maybe more than some other people that may have been involved in the project. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
it's just
right.
it's cool that like.
And it's cool to see
you're
like,
able to
people
like
come the table.
really bring it to the table, because it's just like, oh, this is the stuff that I grew up with, that I watched, and like I know how to fucking do this.
It's like childhood dreams really do come true. We've been waiting for this.
Yeah, I mean, when you grow up watching stuff, amazing shows like Batman the Animated Series.
Oh yeah.
You
man.
don't think you don't ever like. I mean, I always loved watching stuff like that, but I never once thought that I'd get to a point where I get to actually be a superhero like that. Like I never, even when I started acting, I was like, get to watch superhero movies, and I'm like, oh, good for them. Like these are fun, and then it's like, oh my god, I'm actually get to be a superhero. This is amazing.
Happy dance, happy dance.
It's because it's also,
Reality.
if you think about it, actors get to be so many different characters, but most of the time they're ordinary people, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've played a whole myriad of characters. I've played a woman whose husband doesn't remember her. I've played a mother who left her young child to go help serve in World War II, which that play was really wonderful. But how many performers get to be a superhero? Not that many.
Right, exactly. Other than like the one they get to be in their living room, which like we've been
Yeah.
a whole bunch of times. A whole bunch of times most of my life. But yeah, exactly. Like, and that's such a valid point. I mean, like you look at like the most of the projects you get, you're giving so much reality back all the time. And this is something that takes you beyond that, where you're getting to be something fantastical, and it's something that raises the bar, in terms of humanity, because you are superhuman, supervillain, and so it's taking it to that extra level that, people get to look at that and get inspired. It takes them out of themselves. And so that's so rewarding and so fun to be a part of something like that. It's a great opportunity.
Now, for anybody that's still here listening and watching with us that has not checked out Heroineburgh, if you're still here, you should go check it out.
Go check it out. Go check it out.
Episodes are available online. You can just look up Heroineburgh and you will probably find it.
Absolutely. And it's so diverse. I mean, that's the other thing that's also really cool about it. You have all walks of humanity being represented. You have different races, you have biracial characters, you have heterosexuality, you have the LGBTQ community is represented. Like, this is so inclusive. So this is like really something that, I don't know who can't get behind this.
Yeah. And also, as we had said in the first episode that I did, we can't forget about the character of Pittsburgh being in the city.
Yeah.
It's just super duper Pittsburgh. So even if you're just somebody that really likes just seeing stuff around the city, or like even like seeing parts of the city that you may have never seen or realized were around,
So
there is a lot of interesting nooks and crannies where you kind of got to go to film things sometimes.
Which is also crazy amounts of fun.
Yeah.
that kind of like guerrilla style, just like show up and get it done quick.
Yeah.
Like, in and out. Okay, bye. We made it
You
work,
saw nothing,
Right.
but you will see everything.
Exactly.
For anybody who is interested in Heroineburgh, they can go onto the website, which is heroineburgh.com, and you can watch all of season 1, and episode 14 is now available on the website.
Very cool stuff.
So go check that out.
Go check it out. Go check it out. And then stay tuned, because more things are coming down
Yeah.
the pipe.
yeah, like this is just the beginning of season 2.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up. If you're interested in meeting some of the people involved with this project, they're going to be at the Steel City Comic-Con all weekend, which is April 12th, 13th, and 14th at the Monroeville Convention Center.
Mhm.
And they will also be at the Three Rivers Comic-Con, which is May 11th and 12th in the waterfront inside of the old Macy's. And this is where the first time there will be a public showing of episodes 14 and 15 inside of this mini theater that is going to be set up, showing all of the Heroineburgh episodes throughout that weekend.
Very exciting stuff.
And yeah, for anybody that is a comic book fan, you probably are very well aware of both of these things. But if you're, for some reason, somebody in or around the Pittsburgh area that is into comics and had no idea that Heroineburgh existed, and then you also have no idea that the Steel City Con's a thing or Three Rivers Comic Con, like you've been
missed.
you've been missing a lot. There's a whole lot of
Oh yeah, it gets
nerdy
huge.
shit going on
Oh,
that
my
you could be a
goodness.
part of.
And it's so much fun.
So-
it's so fun.
Will either of you two be at either of these events?
Um,
I'm nodding my head yes. One way or the other. They can't keep me away. I'll have to pop on in there. Yes, absolutely. And other heroines will also be there to shake hands and make sure that we can talk about who we are. Bridget.
Yes.
Sorry.
No. Yeah, I'll
You're
definitely
coming,
be at Steel City Con on the 13th. Yeah, wanting to meet people, come talk to me. I promise I won't freeze your hand off or anything like that.
You know, I'm going to be at Steel City Con as well.
You can.
I have a friend that's a vendor, and I'm going to be hanging out, so I'll probably stop by and say hi for a little
You
bit too while I'm
should.
around.
You should.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Get some cheese fries. It'll be awesome.
I don't know about the cheese fries.
Well,
I'm just
take-
picking on
guess
you. We could totally get cheese fries.
Yes! Okay, sorry.
So this
Who
is
doesn't
an
want cheese
all right.
fries?
So here's an important
Like,
question:
come on, Mallrats.
what is the preferred snack food of a superheroine?
The souls of my enemies? I mean, I am a bad guy, so
That
I mean,
does sound like something that Sintilla would say.
right. I mean,
I feel like for
Thirsty.
Arctica would be something cold. Like maybe shaved ice or maybe she makes it herself. when she gets older, can't fight crime. You know, that's what she'll do. She'll just open up her own shaved ice stand.
Now, the other thing that we should get into, and I don't know how much the two of you could speak on this because I don't know how involved either of you are, but we touched on it the last Heroineburgh feature, but with this comic book that's going to be happening. Heroineburgh's comic #1 is going to be released in May. And can either of you tell me anything about this book?
I can tell you that my character is going to be in it.
Awesome.
And I'm extremely excited about that. I've seen like a rough sketch of what the cover was going to be and freaked out because it was like, I never thought I'd see myself on a comic book cover ever. But I know that it's going to involve Arctica and Ex Machina working together.
Yeah,
for
it's a
change.
bridge between seasons 1 and seasons 2. It's my understanding.
Yes.
So the scientists are getting together.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And we even briefly touched on in episode 3 too about like them working, about her and Spectrina working with Ex Machina. So helps build on that a little bit.
So you're going to be in a comic book.
Yes.
Have you thought about that?
Yes. A lot. It's something that I never thought I'd see, and I know that when I finally actually have a copy in my hands, I'm probably just gonna sit there staring at it, and probably whoever's gonna be Romeo just gonna be like,
Just put it in a glass case.
"I'm in a comic book. I'm right there. It looks like me."
How are you feeling about all of this, Alicia? I imagine that your character may be in a comic eventually if this is going to be a thing. I'm sure everybody will be.
I got to see.
Yeah.
I got to see the artwork of me as the
Ooh.
comic book character, and that's an otherworldly experience. Like that's like calling my brother and be like, dude, we're having the moment. Like, we've arrived. Like something just happened. You know, it's that whole thing. Like, I mean, like my personal geek moment, like one of those things that like saved my life as a kid and everything. Like my very first Marvel card, I will never forget opening up my very first Marvel card And there was, we rode our bikes down to the guy's corner store and everything. And I had my little pack and I open it up and there is, of all people, on the very top of my deck, full mohawk storm, like 80s punk rock storm.
Okay.
And I was just like,
Nice.
I think I was like 6 years old at the time. It was something that was just like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be all right. Okay, cool. It was seriously like that whole thing really happened for me in that moment. And so like, comics have always been such a, that world of that particular flavor of make-believe, and seeing that level of representation and heroism was always such a big deal. So like to be suddenly in there, it's completely otherworldly. Just to, it's an honor just to be nominated, It's really cool to be here. It really is.
Well, and if I could just add something
Let me
too,
just
I was, another thing that drew me in is, for one thing you said about like all the different characters, like, oh, there's so many different people in here.
Mhm.
But also it's nice because it's like all the it's heroines because they're all heroines. Like, and I don't have anything wrong like against superheroes. I mean, like I grew up, I loved watching the Spider-Man movies, and I loved watching the Batman cartoon series. Like I love all of the superheroes, but it's so nice to just know it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about like, say, look at like, because a lot of times like I'll look at casting notices and it's just the nature of the business, but a lot of times like I'll like, oh, okay, this looks interesting, they only need men, so it's like, all right, well I can skip that one. So then when I came across this, it's like, oh, I never have to worry about this with something like this, because like it's it's
nice
all
to be the
girls, which
majority.
is really nice. And it's nice to just, for once, it's just refreshing to see stories where it's like mostly centered around women and like them interacting with each other, or like in episode 14 where my character Arctica and the superheroine Fiona fight her Sintilla together, and they have like some interaction before we go into the fight with her and stuff.
And it takes two.
Yes.
Like it takes two.
Yeah, and because I mean, sometimes it's just it's hard to find stuff that's like all girls. For instance, like one of my favorite movies is The Descent. There's one male character in that movie, and it's such a great movie about all these women that are going, like, you hardly ever see any horror movies that have all women.
And if
like,
you do, they're always running for their lives their entire time.
well,
and, it's a lot
and
of
they
screaming
are
and
in this
right,
movie,
but they fight back in The Descent.
Yes.
Like there's war, there's battle down there in those caves and everything, and
yes,
covered in gore and viscera, and screaming your whole way through it.
Yeah.
Like battle cries.
It's just
cool.
awesome to know that this is something where like a lot of women can have some roles and get to be badasses and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And there are
Absolutely.
dudes who are included, but like we get to punch them in the face and knock them out. And they're game for it. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like it's still all fun, and I don't feel like we're like taking anything away from anybody,
Nah, just adding to it.
a lot to it, which is cool. Very cool.
A lot of flavor.
Marinate in there with some spices and
Some spices, or in my case, some ice.
So yeah, wrapping things up here with Heroineburgh. Again, you can find it on the website, heroineburgh.com. You can watch clips on YouTube, behind the scenes things across all facets of social media. And once again, Steel City Con and Three Rivers Comic Con. Find them at the cons. And is there anything else that the two of you would like to say before we pull the plug on the convo?
Well,
Watch the show.
watch the show.
For one. Keep an eye out for whenever the comic gets released. Definitely come and say hi to us at the cons. We're all very nice, and we'd love to talk to you about stuff.
That's very, very true. We're all a bunch of characters, which is all, super duper fun. Everybody who's involved, like everybody has like such a background that they come from. but it's also cool at the con because we're in character, so like we don't leave the fantasy, but like to find us on Facebook, find us all over the places and everything, because everybody we're enriching the whole tapestry of Pittsburgh off of this platform, which is just so freaking cool.
Like I said, I'll be at the Steel City Con myself on April 13th, representing Heroineburgh, and just doing a lot of auditioning and stuff right now, but I am actually going to be in the Beaver Bobcats production of A Streetcar Named Desire in the fall, which I'm really excited about because that's one of my most favorite plays.
That's so fun.
And you can always come and see me every Friday night at the Beaver Valley Bowl on the 3rd floor at 10 o'clock for the F and Improv show with the Cellar Dwellers. We do it every Friday. Every Friday. So I'm always there doing improv.
Cool.
Right on. So I will also be at the cons because, like I said, wild horses can't keep me away. So I will be there to represent and show my love. But also places to find me at. I'm a go-go dancer at Cabo down in the Strip District every Friday night, every Saturday night. If I'm not out with Venus and Furs or singing with the Down Above, that's where to find me. And then we also have another show coming up in May. We actually just follow Venus and Furs because we actually just got handed a whole bunch of new dates coming up. And then Deutschtown Festival will be in July, and can't wait for that. That's always that's a huge party. Every July, everybody needs to like get in on that. That'll be fun.
I'll have to come see you guys at some point. Okay.
I think you'd like our music. I think you'd like it a whole lot. If you haven't heard it yet, I have a CD in my car. I'll give you one.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And me, Michael, and Robbie have been trying to find a way for my band to play with Venus and Furs. We've been trying to make it happen. Well, we just got to find the right date, the right time, the right place.
I'm really trying to, and let me put this out into the ether, for everyone can send like prayers, positive vibes, thoughts, all that stuff. Cause I really want to do, I think it would be fantastic. The new club Cake that's over in the Strip District. Yeah. The venue is so perfectly set up for live shows. And I'm trying, I'm there all the time. So I just need to talk to people and make it happen. But we need to get dates together. That is one of the sickest places to do shows at. And no one ever gets to do it. Yeah, I could.
If anybody could pull it off, they could, or y'all could. I should say. Yeah.
Well, come on in. Come on in. We're gonna do the thing. We'll talk.
Shouldn't you say Yins could?
Yins could. I do my best to not use. I don't have a problem with it. I just try to keep it out. That's all. It's just
from your country.
Yeah. It's a strange thing, but I believe we've covered everything. I'm really looking forward to watching everything develop, and I'll see you at Steel City Con.
Yay! Sounds awesome.
Cool. That'll be awesome.
And that's it. I'd say we are done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks again to Bridget and Alicia for coming here, talking with me, and sharing everything that they could about Season 2 of Heroineburgh, which, as they mentioned, Episode 14 is available now on their website. You can catch them at the Steel City Con and the Three Rivers Comic Con. And I think that's all I have to say about that. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sikes. Start the beat. 2019. Woo! Woo! Thanks for listening.